Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another heaping helping of the Lean Mean Wrestle Talking Machine, Wrestling with Egos. My name is Brian. I am the intellectual savior of the wrestling masses, and I am joined this week by Mr. AEW himself, RJ. You'll notice from the frame that there's only two of your boys with you this week because the proper villain is off doing the Lord's work, and we give him mad props for that. But never fear, he will be back in his pod on the screen, as it were, next week when we talk about our Montreal Screwjob show, and more details to come on that later on. As always, we thank you for watching Wrestling with Egos however you consume us, whether it's on Anchor.fm, whether it's on YouTube. And we want you to subscribe to us on YouTube so you get the notifications when we have new content. You can also reach out to us on Twitter. I am at bkrigo15. RJ is at RJEman with two N's, at the end of that. Yep. And you can always email the show at wrestlingwithegos@gmail.com. We also have the Google repository site. It's bit.ly/withegos. Man, that's a lot to get out in one breath at the beginning of the show. But a lot of disparate elements to get to this week, if you will. We're just going to be doing a lot of quick hits this week, nothing too deep, because we're kind of preparing and anticipating the madness of the Montreal Screwjob next week. But RJ, first of all, how goes it over there in camera 2?
Good, fantastic.
Thank you for joining us again. We want to start over in the land of the rising sun, as it were. We want to start off in Japan with the G1 Climax event that is happening currently. You'll be happy to know that I have research right here, so I actually know who's participating in it. That's always a good thing. I have not seen any of the matches yet. I saw some of the six-man tags and tag team matches that they had as kind of an appetizer to whet people's appetite for what actually was going to be happening over the coming weeks. Because one thing I didn't realize is how long the G1 actually goes on for. I thought it was just a week-long thing and then we're done. No, this is going into August.
Absolutely. August 12th.
What is your reaction so far to what you've seen? It could be a decision that's already been scored because I have the points, who's earned what so far, or it could be from some of these tag matches that you've seen that prepare you for what's about to happen in the weeks to come.
Well, I'll tell you that Sonata and Zack Sabre Jr. was for sure the best tournament match that happened on day one. That match was unbelievable. There were a bunch of I have the pulled up on my phone. I keep a scorecard on my phone, and I do it every year. And I was actually really surprised. There were three of the five were complete shocks to me. Fale winning was, I didn't see that coming. Lance Archer beating Will Ospreay started the tournament with just a huge shock. That was insane. Lance Archer beating Will Ospreay. And then I actually thought Ibushi would beat Kenta. I know Kenta just came back, but I mean, it's Kota Ibushi. I thought Ibushi would take that win there. Okada beating Tanahashi's. They always go to a draw, and nobody can ever win that matchup. And so Okada, I feel like Okada actually beating Tanahashi pretty much well before the time limit says a lot about going forward where Okada and Tanahashi kind of are going in their careers. And I'm really excited for B Block on Saturday. We got a big wrestling weekend coming up. Really excited for B Block.
There's some names in that B Block, sir.
B Block is the block this year. Usually they got A Block going on, but B Block is the block this year. For sure. Just Naito, White, and Moxley off the top yeah. Oh yeah.
You said you were shocked by the Ospreay result. What in particular made that such a unpredictable result for you, do you think?
Lance Archer is known as more of a tag team wrestler, and Davey Boy Smith, the Killer Elite Squad. They were the Killer Elite Squad, him and Davey Boy Smith Jr. And he's kind of more known for teaming. When he gets opportunities to have singles matches, and he is this. I don't think this is his first G1. I feel like I remember seeing him in the G1 before. When he gets his opportunities for single matches, they're usually pretty good. And that match with Ospreay was real good. It was, if it wasn't for Sonata and Zack Sabre Jr. tearing the freaking house down, which I don't usually like Zack Sabre Jr. matches, so it says a lot for me to say that match was it was really good. But the Ospreay Archer match was the match itself went above my expectations. Archer can go a lot more than I gave him credit for. I mean, to be able to hang with a guy like Ospreay, who many people consider to be the best wrestler in the world right now, and then there's that, being the best wrestler in the world right now and being the junior heavyweight champion. And I don't know. I expected Ospreay to get the win. I expect Ospreay to be in contention near the end. I don't think that he'll win A Block, but I expect him to be in contention near the end. And I feel like a loss to Lance Archer, kind of like, because he still has to wrestle Tanahashi and Okada and Sonata, and he's got to wrestle a bunch of guys I don't know if he's going to beat. So him losing to Lance Archer was super shocking. I figured he'd get 2 points there for sure.
For the uninitiated, namely your boy, I'm looking at these blocks. Is it a round robin system, and then like the top so many guys like go into single elimination, or how does it work?
A round robin type system, yes, but there is no so many guys kind of deal. It's everybody in A Block wrestles everybody else in A Block. Everybody in B Block wrestles everybody else in B Block. 2 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, no points for a loss. The guy that has the most points in A Block and the guy that has the most points in B Block wrestle each other on August 12th at the finale for the G1 Championship.
And that's it. So a loss at any point can be especially damaging.
Right, absolutely, because you need those points.
Okay, I'll admit, from looking at the schedule, looking at this and not really knowing how, it's structured to work, like is it still like the top 3 guys or the top 4 guys or whatever? But if it's winner out of A and winner out of B and then they go, that makes sense then. Which match in Block B coming up this weekend are you looking forward to the most?
This is actually probably going to be a surprise. I'm going to go with Moxley and Taichi. And it's not just because Moxley has AEW ties. Taichi is very underrated. I'm a big Taichi fan. I think he's a fantastic heel. I think he's very underrated in the ring. And he's making his G1 debut, as is Moxley. And I feel like they're both going to want to make that special. Prove, right, I should have been here. I'm here now. Look what I can do, kind of thing. And I feel like that's going to be the best match.
Nice. You just brought up AEW, and that's actually a nice segue for us because we don't want to give too much away about G1 because we have a segment later on where we will actually make some predictions about G1. So don't you go changing that Wrestling with Egos channel right this second. But AEW does have another event coming up, Fight for the Fallen. I don't know much about the card, admittedly, because of my prep. I kind of neglected that one, so my apologies to the AEW clientele that's out there. But that's why we bring an expert on board like this guy over here. What if you had to pick a couple of matches off the card for storyline purposes or for just sheer entertainment value that you're going to get more bang for your buck by watching them, what's going to be on that card that people should definitely make it a point to check out?
More bang for your buck, did you say?
I did, and I just realized where you were going with that.
The Young Bucks and the Rhodes Brothers is kind of where you have to start with this show.
Okay.
It's storyline wise, that's the match. I don't know. I know we do have people that watch Being the Elite and us, and there's been a lot of the Bucks making fun of the Double or Nothing. I don't need a partner. I don't need a friend. I need my older brother. They say that to each other constantly on BTE, and they both pretend to cry and hug each other, and then bust out laughing, and it's super funny. There was a on the most. I think it was the most recent. Yeah, I think it was the most recent BTE. They had a list of like long-term booking, and it said who should we bury at the top, and then it had like October 2nd with a question mark. So that might be a little bit of a TV spoiler there. We'll see. And then the rest of the list was I don't need a partner. I don't need a friend. And they've just been mocking it like crazy. And so that's, kind of giving them a reason to fight. That match is going to be awesome. Kenny Omega and Shima is going to be really good. Shima from the Strong Hearts had a fantastic match with Christopher Daniels at Fyter Fest after the match with SCU at Double or Nothing, and I'm very excited to see what he can do in the ring with the absolutely biased here best wrestler in the world, Kenny Omega. Very excited about that. Another one outside of there's a six man tag match. I got the card here. Well, real quick, I just want to mention Brandy is wrestling Allie, and that's finally Brandy getting in the ring for AEW, so that's awesome.
Really? Okay.
The six-man tag match. That's Jimmy Havoc, Darby Allin, and Joey Janela against MJF, Sammy Guevara, and Sean Spears.
Yikes.
And I'm interested in that to see how MJF plays the part a lot on these shows of being Cody's best friend, and Cody is his mentor, and Cody is the guy that he looks up to the most, and he's also been known to talk crap behind Cody's back on BTE. So I'm interested to see how the relationship between MJF, and Sean Spears, who just blasted Cody in the head with a chair, I'm really interested to see how they're going to cooperate or not cooperate with each other as partners.
Are you also interested to see how well MJF just out and out cooperates with other people, period? Because
right.
That's another thing, from what little I've seen, he doesn't seem to be much interested in currying favor with anybody.
Right, absolutely.
He'd rather just go on his own path, and wherever it gets him, it gets him.
Right.
But in the context of a six-man tag, ostensibly, you do have to have some level of camaraderie, whatever word you want to use, with your partners.
Right.
Because you are trying to win, you would think.
Absolutely.
Unless you think there's going to be some interplay between MJF and somebody. Obviously, you might think that's in the offing.
Yeah. I feel eventually I think MJF is going to just leave. And it'll become a 3-on-2 match is how I feel it'll probably play out. But it's hard to put a guy. It's hard to think that a guy who walks around saying I'm better than you and you know it. It's really hard to believe that guy's going to be able to coexist with anybody.
I can't see how. You mentioned that Brandy is making her in-ring debut for AEW. I don't remember her that much as an in-ring talent when she was with WWE. I know she was really just doing the announcing and stuff like that.
Eden.
As Eden. Yeah. What, in your opinion, what do you think her skill set is? And can she, I know she has to have been training, obviously, because look who she's married to. There's no reason why she wouldn't be training. How well do you think she's going to acquit herself in the ring?
I'm going to preface what I'm going to say by saying that it has been months and months and months and months since Brandy. She might have at indie shows that I don't know, but it's been months since I have personally seen Brandy Rhodes in the ring. She may have improved leaps and bounds over the last time I saw her. That being said, what I've seen, she's not very smooth. She's not spectacular in the ring. She does have a bionic shoulder now, so there's that. Because, she broke the bone in her shoulder and they put the plate in there. So now she has that spear finisher with her bionic shoulder. She did it to Dustin at Double or Nothing, and she's done it. She had been doing it in Ring of Honor right before they left, and so she has a bionic shoulder now. So there's that. But there's some stuff that she can do, some basic stuff. See, I don't want to I don't want to talk too bad about her because I
Right.
love her. She's so smart and she's a phenomenal person and she's awesome. And like I said, you also said, considering who her husband is and who she is as a person, I'm sure she's been training and improving like crazy. And but the last time I saw her, really, really green. Not really super good at anything.
Here's a question for you then, because there's another WWE talent that I can remember thinking that same thing about when she first started.
Sasha?
No, could we have another Trish Stratus on our hands here?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah,
Because
you're
I
right.
remember when Trish first started, before she, when she seriously got in the ring, her matches were difficult to watch too. And then after about 6 months of that, all of a sudden it's like, girl can go,
Yeah,
So I mean, I have no reason to think that she couldn't have a similar trajectory because she's going to put the work in.
absolutely. Do the work.
So with that, we're going to move into the WWE portion of the program because there are some things, a few things here and there that happened on Raw and SmackDown this week that you boys have some strong reactions to. There's been an undercurrent with the three of us. Patrick, when he's been here, RJ, when you've been here, and definitely me. I think I've been the most vocal about this of all three of us. Not to toot my own horn, but Patrick actually called it. He's not here this week, and I'm going to put myself over. So humbly allow me to put myself over, please.
Absolutely.
There is a huge chunk of the rosters on both shows. I won't use NXT because NXT, I think, does a pretty good job of trying to get people FaceTime and that sort of thing. But there is a huge portion of this roster, as it's presently constructed, that is being squandered, is the word I've been using. RJ, I'll let you kick this off with a segment that ended Raw on Monday. I'll set it up for you, and then I'll let you just kind of go wherever you want to take it.
All right.
Roman Reigns was set up in a tag match against Drew McIntyre. And in my humble opinion, the best thing that WWE has going for it right now, I mean, this guy, he's box office, man. And I'm going to cut that last part out because I can't believe those words just came out of my mouth. Shane McMahon against Roman Reigns and a partner of Shane McMahon's choosing. And I thought, okay, they're going to come up with some guy, just some random like enhancement talent or something like that. But they went me one better. They were talking to the janitors and they were talking to the porters and they were talking to the thises and that's. And I was waiting for concession guys and I was waiting for, the turnpike attendant, up the turnpike or something. But RJ, would you like to impart on the good folks out there in Wrestling with Eagles Land who they actually came up with as Roman Reigns' mystery partner?
Well, I believe his name was Gary the Goat. Was it Garbrandt? Something like that.
Yeah,
Gary
I
the
have
Goat.
I have his trading card upstairs somewhere. I used to love watching him wrestle back in the day, man.
I'm sure he'll have a shirt on WWE Shop in no time. Yeah, Gary the Goat. He was the janitor of whatever arena they were in. I don't remember what arena they were in. He mentioned something about wanting to be a wrestler. They told him they put him in a mask when he went out there. It was right at that moment that they said they were going to put him in a mask that I knew there was no way. And I mean, I'm not the only one. I mean, I knew there was no way Gary the Goat was the guy that was actually going to go to the ring once they said they were putting him in a freaking mask. So he's a limping janitor, and they offer him $5,000 to be Roman's partner. And he's $5,000. That's awesome. And then it comes, and Roman comes out, and then Shane and Drew McIntyre come out. And then Gary the Goat comes out. He's dressed in his janitor coverall like he had on earlier. And he has a luchador mask on. He has his limp. But the limp is a little more exaggerated than it had been earlier in the show. So, of course, the match starts, and Gary the Goat is on the outside of the ring and Roman starts. And of course, Drew McIntyre ends up forcing Roman into the corner. And Gary the Goat's hand accidentally touches Roman Reigns. And now that's a tag. The ref calls that a tag. Gary's got to get in. Gary gets in. He gets beat up by Drew for a little while. Gets beat up by Shane for a little while. Ends up reversing a couple of the things Shane does. Looks like he can go. He's got some moves. He looks like he belongs on 205 Live. He does the I don't know. I cannot for the life of me. I'm completely brain farting at what the move is called, where he does the handstand and bounces off the ropes. The only guy in the WWE that does that move is Cedric Alexander. So I'm wondering.
Funny you should mention that.
It could maybe be Cedric Alexander is what I'm thinking at this point. So the whole thing reek of, and then he does a couple moves. He gets off a big splash to the outside that he holds his arms back exactly the same way Cedric Alexander holds his arms back, which was also really weird, very coincidental. He gets back in the ring and just out of freaking nowhere gets Claymore kicked by Drew McIntyre, and then shocking, Shane McMahon goes over and pins Cedric Alexander. Who is not Cedric Alexander yet. He's still Gary the Goat. Shane and Drew go to leave. Roman and Gary are in the ring. Gary takes his mask off, and it's Cedric Alexander. We're absolutely all shocked. He's been doing Cedric Alexander moves. Nobody can believe it's Cedric Alexander. I don't have a whole lot of problems with the segment. I think it's actually super incredible, and kind of creative to have Shane just pick a random person that works in the arena to be Roman's partner that has no wrestling experience. I don't hate it. They used to do swerves like this in the Attitude Era all the time, and we all loved it, so I can't poo-poo that too much. What I can poo-poo is that if you are going to do this segment, Roman and Cedric or Gary cannot ever lose that match. So what happened was that Roman Reigns and Cedric Alexander, more specifically Roman Reigns, got one over, right, on Shane and Drew McIntyre. They tricked them. They got one over on them and still couldn't win. That makes Cedric Alexander and Roman Reigns look so moronic and idiotic and weak, and it's horrible booking. It's absolutely elementary school level booking. It's something like Shane McMahon's my favorite action figure, and I'm going to do this whole thing where there's a mystery partner, but Shane's going to win because he's Shane McMahon, and I love him, and he's the best in the world, and for Christ's sake, sorry. Oh my God, it's just the worst. They can't ever lose. I love everything that happened. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It was creative, it was cool, it was entertaining, whatever, but they can't ever lose. Why do you book them to lose? Look so weak.
You get 25 bonus points for leaning into the camera for gravitas. I like the the fireside chat aspect before you blasted our heads off with that take. I tend to agree with you. And I'm going to dovetail what you're reacting to with something that happened on SmackDown the following night. Kevin Owens came out after being escorted out of the arena, quote unquote. Came out to the broadcast position, grabbed a microphone, and just started ripping, excoriating, if you will. There's a 50-cent word right there. Shane McMahon. And I had to watch this back 3 times because, of course, I didn't see it live. Watched it. I actually saw it on Twitter was the first time I saw it. And then I saw it again on Facebook. And then it was on something else. So I actually turned the volume up on my phone and I watched it start to finish. And I remember thinking that was kind of brazen to take the fight to Shane's doorstep. Do the whole, okay, this mic doesn't work, give me another one. Okay, that mic doesn't work, give me, Byron Saxton, give me your earpiece, I'll talk into that. And the fact that you had all these guys that he was name dropping about getting ignored saying thank you, Seth, or thank you, Kevin, KO, we appreciate you, that sort of thing. I'll get your take on it first, on like the whole thing, because I think this kind of all bleeds into each other. Before I give you, and again, not that I agree with it, but I think I know where they might be going with this. But let's get your take on the whole situation first.
I mean, Kevin Owens is screaming what I'm telling the villain in training all the time. Like, I mean, there's the list is so much longer. I know his mic got cut or whatever, and he had to run from security. The list is so much longer than the list that he gave. I think my biggest takeaway from that is I really felt him when he talked about how much of a slap in the face it is to the guys in the back when they call Shane McMahon the best in the world. Like the guys that are going out and beating up their bodies night in, night out at the house shows and every week on TV. And I agreed with everything that he said, and I thought that it was really well put together and really well done. And I mean, KO's gold on the mic, so it's it was always going to be great. That's my biggest takeaway from it, really, and I'll let you take it from there. Is just that he's the feeling of how much BS it is that they call him the best in the world. I really, as much of it as might have been worked, I felt that.
I'm going to draw a couple of parallels. One of them obvious, one of them not so obvious, between what's been happening and what's happened in times of yesteryear. The obvious parallel, the first thing I went to was CM Punk's pipe bomb.
Right.
There was a lot of elements of it, and to this day, whenever I see CM Punk's pipe bomb on whatever collection or anything like that, it does give me chills. Because you can call it a work shoot or whatever you want to call it, but there has to be an element of risk in getting out there and saying what you feel without a filter. Because CM Punk, and he said this as much, people will give him scripts and you throw them right in the garbage. I don't want to say that. I'm going to say what I feel. I'm going to say what's on my mind. There was elements to this with what Kevin Owens was saying. Whether his character has reached a breaking point or whether Kevin Steen has reached a breaking point. Because let's face it, who knows how many good years Kevin has left to give the industry.
Right.
Kevin's the kind of guy that goes out there and it's balls to the wall. He's not holding anything back. He has had injuries in the past. He wonders privately, how much more am I going to be able to give to this industry? And how much longer am I going to have to wait my turn while Shane and McMahon is getting a push? So there was elements of realism there, and he was taking up for all these people that you haven't seen in months. The Liv Morgans and the Authors of Pain and Buddy Murphy, and the list went on. And he was, I was like, oh yeah, Buddy Murphy. Oh yeah, Authors of Pain. That, but here's something else that I think, and I actually can't believe I'm thinking this way, because I'm a very black and white kind of person. Here's the surface, and this is where I'm thinking, and I can't believe but what if, and I don't know that I'll necessarily give Shane credit for thinking this way. What if the writers have realized Shane has all this heat on him for being in this position? Shane is 52?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
I was 53, something like that.
This is probably his last run. Let's just put him over as over can be. Let's put him over like JBL was when he was the stock trading champion. He was a little bit limited with injuries too at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just make him a white hot, heel. Not that he's earning the heat. He's just there because he's the authority figure.
Right.
And maybe let's use that to our advantage. Let's turn a negative into a positive. Oh my goodness, Vince speak. What is going on here? And maybe Kevin Owens becomes the white, or the baby face that leads the charge to maybe this turns into an angle between the two of them that culminates at SummerSlam with a loser leaves town match or a loser retires or something like that, and Kevin Owens just beats the ever living crap out of Shane McMahon and pins him 1, 2, 3, and then that's it. You don't see Shane anymore. That's about the only me trying to be ever hopeful and spin it forward and accentuate the positive. That's about the only good that can come out of this, because this Shane push is damaging a lot of people that come within 50 feet of it. It's damaging Drew McIntyre. It's damaging Roman Reigns to an extent. It's damaging Kevin Owens. It's damaging the Revival. It's damaging anybody that becomes their or Shane's heavy, as you were. And we just
one exception to that. I think that it has elevated Elias.
Good point. I mean, but that can't be the only positive that spins forward out of this. I mean, you have to use this to ignite so many people. I mean, look at the Vince storyline and how many people that ignited. It ignited Stone Cold, it ignited The Rock, it ignited Triple H, it ignited all these people. We need something like that, some kind of a flashpoint like that to happen here. That's about the only hopeful thing that I can take out of this, is maybe they're realizing, let's take this for storyline, let's spin it forward, and let's strap a rocket to somebody. Because Shane, you would think, can't keep going at this pace because of how winded he gets from executing the simplest of moves. And I have mad respect for the guy.
Right.
I'm on record that King of the Ring match with Kurt Angle, one of my favorite matches ever. Props for wanting to take bumps like the boys do. I get that. But at this point, you have to see that you're stifling more guys than you are helping them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to see it.
So that's my take on that. I'm hoping that for storyline purposes, we can spin this into something worthwhile going forward. I think they need to.
Absolutely.
Another documentary series, and I hope it turns into a regular feature. And I hope the next several are a little bit longer, because I was left wanting more. After watching this, what we're talking about is only about 8 or 9 minutes long. And it's a WWE Network exclusive called WWE Reimagined. It's basically WWE stealing our ideas. We spent the last 2 weeks talking about what if. WWE, I'll give you the address you can send the residual checks to and get more graphics for the show. The first question they asked was, what if The Undertaker had left for WCW in 1997? Part of me wonders, are they doing this to rehabilitate the character of The Undertaker because he's taken some hits over the past year plus, maybe, with some of the matches he's been involved in? And part of me wonders, if this is just them trying to create, something else for us to talk about with The Undertaker, as opposed to what the in-ring product. Your thoughts on that topic, sir?
I thought it was well put together. I thought it was a creative idea. It's a fun watch. I agree with you. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, there could be a lot of character rehabilitation here. Remind people who he is. You know what I mean? Remind people that he wasn't always that guy that wrestled Goldberg. He used to be that guy that everybody wanted to see wrestle Sting. That's a good point. My mind didn't go there, but what you said is brilliant. That's absolutely, that's what they're doing. That was character rehabilitation.
Because to be fair, I didn't come here to denigrate The Undertaker. You look at his pluses and minuses column, the pluses, I need 6 or 7 or 8 pieces of paper to list all the pluses. The Google Doc is going to be very long on that one, as it were. But I just can't shake this feeling that dude's hanging on a little too long. And I know he wants to put people over, and I'm praying to God that what I'm hearing about him requesting to work with Drew this summer is true. Because if you just strip away all the other crap and it just becomes mano a mano, and you can do some character work and you can do some psychology, and Taker's going to put Drew over, How he does it remains to be seen, but that would be a heck of a rub for Drew.
And if we saw more of what we saw a couple of weeks ago with the thunder and then the lightning bolt when Taker came, that's who he is. That's who he was. That's who he should be. He should be that guy. And if we can get more of that with him and Drew, that would be, oh my gosh, I would be 100% in for that.
I mean, there's a reason why all these old Undertaker matches still send chills up my spine. I mean, he's one of the only people that when his entrance music hits, I don't say anything. I sit there and I have goosebumps, and I don't care what iteration. I mean, even when he was American Badass Undertaker, still made me stand up, sit up, and take notice. And I will always have mad respect for the man because he's been involved in some of the most transformative moments in my lifetime as far as as wrestling is concerned.
Me too, absolutely. He's my all-time favorite.
It's
about it. He's my all-time favorite.
So, but I think we're at the point where we need to think about where Mark Calloway needs to think about, how do I want to put the stamp on everything?
I mean, and it doesn't get any more perfect than WrestleMania 33. He should have just the coat and the hat and the ring with the, oh my gosh, just leave it there and we're done.
That's why half of my living room was in tears.
I was in the stadium in tears.
Yep.
Me and 80,000 other people were crying, or however, I don't remember how we're crying in that building. Like there wasn't a dry eye in the house. The guy behind me kept just saying to himself over and over and over and over and over again, I can't believe I just saw The Undertaker's last match. I can't believe I just saw The Undertaker's last match. I can't believe I just saw The Undertaker's last match. And the way that he left his jacket and his hat in the ring and left the way that he did, there has never been, and I don't think ever will be, a more perfect way for anybody to go out ever. And then Saudi Arabia ruined it.
Yeah. So I just hope, because that would make the image rehabilitation complete. If he gets a proper go out and then he waltzes into the Hall of Fame next year, wherever WrestleMania is. I can't remember where it is next year, but
Tampa.
Okay. So with that being said, it is our distinct pleasure to introduce a brand new segment on Wrestling with Egos. Now, we're not going to do this every week because, segments are hard enough as it is around here in Wrestling with Egos, but brand new segment, and it's a good way to get a lot of information into a short period of time. Just give you our thoughts on stuff, maybe not necessarily spend 35 hours talking about something, but we're going to call it fill in the blank, and it's quite simple. We are going to present each other with a sentence that will contain a blank, and you have to give your opinion on what fills in the blank and a short reason why. And we're going to do 5 of these today, and we're going to see how it goes. And if you don't mind, sir, I will kick it off with the first fill in the blank of the evening. It will be blank. And we're looking for an adjective here, by the way, boys and girls. It will be blank that Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff are becoming the new executive producers of Raw and SmackDown. Action to you, sir.
Productive.
You said productive?
Productive. I think
Okay.
It will be productive. I think it will move the brands and the company forward. I think the creative vision will become more focused and creative.
Okay. Actually, sir, the answer we were looking for is transformative. Oh.
There you go. That's very.
I'm kidding. Your answer was perfectly adequate. I just feel like, and if they do what I said last week, if they actually sit down with everybody, and you have to think they will, it's not they're just going to come in with an iron fist and, Apollo Crews is going to go over. Damn it, it's good. It's such good shit. They're going to. I'd love to think they're going to sit down with everybody and just say, where do you see yourself in a year, 5 years? What are your goals that you want to accomplish, and let's draw a map to get you there. That kind of thing, because there's so many people, and with 5 hours of television in a week, I know that'll change down the road, but right now, hey, you got 3 hours. We could do with less, 24/7, conga line stuff, and a little bit more with some in-ring action. That isn't a 2 out of 3 falls match, by the way, because that's even getting watered down. I will let you present fill in the blank numero dos.
All right. So the second one is going to be the G1 Climax 29 will be won by blank.
And I said in the prep for this show that you were going to be impressed with my answer and the reasons why.
You did.
Okay. I did some research for this one, and I realized that historically speaking, Gaijins don't win the G1 Climax event. They usually prefer some homegrown folks. And I also feel like New Japan hasn't, at least in my opinion, now you could say I'm totally wrong here and say you need to watch more New Japan and you wouldn't be saying crap like this. It's been a while since they've actually developed a star from the starter from the bottom and then like strapped a rocket to him. And I feel like New Japan just acquired a guy who they could really do this with and just make him like the next big thing, because we all know he's got the talent. We all know he can go in the ring because we've seen him before in other promotions. I think Kenta is going to win this year's G1 Climax for just that reason. I mean, he's got a lot to prove. He's been squandered. He's been injured. Maybe he hasn't taken advantage of opportunities. Here you go, kid. Let's go. Let's wrestle. Let's get those points. Let's win your block. I know you got a lot of tough people in your block, but I believe in you. Kent is the man.
That's a good
Prove
answer.
me wrong. Just kidding.
There you go. I love it. That's a good answer. It's funny. I'm actually going to go with Kenta's G1 Day 1 opponent, and I'm going to say that Kota Ibushi. Kota Ibushi will win the G1, and the reason that I'm going to say that is short and sweet. I think it's time. I think it's time that Ibushi go to the top, the very tippy top. I think it's time. It's been coming, and
because he's been hovering, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
He's been on the cusp, and he's just never quite been able to.
Absolutely. And when Kenny and all the EVPs left for AEW, Kota committed to New Japan for life. And I think that means a lot. And
his loyalty is big over there.
Absolutely. And I feel like maybe they would have gone with him last year to face Kenny at Wrestle Kingdom, but I don't think that they had the assurance that he was going to stay. I think had they had the assurance that Ibushi was going to still be there after Wrestle Kingdom and not leave with Kenny, I feel like they would have gone with Kenny and Kota Ibushi at Wrestle Kingdom, but they went with Tanahashi because they didn't know Ibushi was going to be there. Ibushi's going to be there now. He's going to be there forever. He's going to be there, he says, forever for the rest of his life. So it's time for him to get this big gold belt at Wrestle Kingdom from Okada and win the G1 before that. And there you go.
Okay. I can't argue with that logic. Fill in the blank number 3. And based on our previous conversations, and this is not limited to just WWE, by the way, this question, because I'm sure you might come at this one from a different angle than I will. But it is criminal how much blank is underutilized.
Shinsuke Nakamura. I don't think I even need to give a reason why. Because he's a freaking legend and he's not on television.
Yeah. My answer is not too far off of that one, and as soon as you said it, I realized I probably should have said that one. But I'm going to go Rusev, because I don't know, help me out with this one. Did he shoot his mouth off one time too many? Has he been hurt? Is he just not? I don't understand a reason why you just don't see him. Like, I was watching the 24 about Batista the other night, and it was a Rusev sighting in that one. He was like walking past him backstage. I'm like, yeah, that's Rusev. It's Rusev Day, and but like, where has he been? I mean, again, it just goes back to you have all these people that are just sitting backstage and not doing anything, watching the matches and drinking coffee and, playing cards and all that kind of stuff. It's like, just get him in the ring. Just give him a 10-minute match in the ring.
How do you go? I don't understand how a guy like that, who's as talented as he is, goes from in a WrestleMania entrance versus John Cena, where he comes out on a tank, to 4 years later, he's not even on TV.
So just you're forgotten about. I don't understand it. And I'm sure there's behind the scenes stuff that I'm forgetting about, but at some point you got to get past that. At some point you got to say you're under contract to wrestle, you're going to wrestle.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. Yeah. All right, action to you, sir, for numero cuatro.
All right. So the most brutal match I've ever seen is blank.
Now, I wrote one down, and then I mentioned one earlier that could have been one too. I don't know why I didn't think of this one at first, but my answer is going to surprise you, because my answer is vintage. My answer for the most brutal match I've ever seen is the 1981 alley fight at Madison Square Garden between Sergeant Slaughter and Pat Patterson. Wow. Those two guys messed each other up that day. I mean, you go back and watch that match, and that wasn't no fake blood, number one.
Right.
I mean, those two were just, I mean, was it bowling shoe ugly? Yes. Because we're talking about Pat Patterson and Sergeant Slaughter here. They're not technical masterminds. But just in terms of like stiff shots and bleeding and exhaustion, that's my submission for the most brutal match I've ever seen.
It's so funny that you said what you said earlier, and then you bring it up again right now. It's on my piece of paper. The most brutal match I've ever seen is the King of the Ring match between Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon. The amount of punishment that Shane takes in that match is unbelievable.
There's an Untold about that match. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but they have another series called WWE Untold, where they talk. You need to go check it out, because Shane talks at length about just getting dumped on his head.
Yes.
The first time, and the dull thud that you hear when the glass doesn't break and he slides down right on the back of his head.
Yeah, that sound. I'll never forget that sound for my whole life. I'll never forget that sound.
They talked to Mike Chioda about holding the plank in place to do the angle slam off the top rope.
Yeah.
And just, and about everybody yelling in Chioda's ear, don't let him do it again. Don't let him,
I'm gonna have to watch.
Just the whole backstory behind that, because that was when I had some respect for Shane.
Yeah, absolutely, right, for sure.
Because then it was like, oh my God, he can go.
Right.
We're not going to call you the best in the world, but I give you mad props for being willing to put yourself through all of that,
for sure,
to get yourself over and to get Kurt over, because everything that Kurt was doing, was not of this world, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. I would like to mention that I almost went with Naito, Tetsuya Naito and Kota Ibushi, but I couldn't pick one.
Okay.
Because they're all so freaking brutal.
Gotcha. And then our final fill in the blank for this evening, Bray Wyatt's first opponent upon his in-ring return should be blank.
My answer is The Undertaker. Only because, was it last week or maybe the week before that, Bray posted a real cryptic tweet about how he's coming to finish things that he had previously started, and he said something along the lines of, "It's me. It's always been me." And I feel like that's the next Undertaker. Like, it's me. It's always been me. I should have taken him out when I had the chance to at WrestleMania, and now I'm coming back to do that. And if Taker, and and this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like if Taker wants to work with Drew, and I'm all here for that, I love that, Bray should wait until after that and then wrestle Undertaker. I feel like it should be the Undertaker.
Wherever that happens.
Right.
Okay. You're probably going to laugh at my answer, but I looked at it more from a logical progression standpoint, because you don't just want to put Bray in with the champ right away. You're not going to put Bray with
Right.
Seth Rollins right away. You're not going to put Bray with Kofi Kingston right away, or whoever, the champion is when he does come back. But I look at it, more unfinished business kind of standpoint. I think his first match should be Matt Hardy. Nice, quick, easy. It's not going to be a 4-month thing because of Matt's advanced age and things like that. He doesn't have that much left to give, but you can do some psychological stuff for a couple of weeks. And then maybe you come at SummerSlam and you make your, by just squashing Matt Hardy. And then you just start checking off the boxes. Maybe you go at Randy after that. Like you're on a mission, because I think we all agree that they can't be, the live stuff can't be cutesy.
Right, absolutely.
You can save your cutesy stuff for your Firefly Funhouse segments, but you're not going to have 35-minute Matt Classics. You're going to come in and you're going to just lay waste to people to avenge for all those losses you took when you should have been probably winning a lot more than you were. So I'm thinking of a natural progression kind of thing. You start with Matt, squash him. Then you go to Randy, squash. I know Randy's a made guy. Maybe your match lasts a little bit longer with him. It's a little bit more work, but then you just start getting back to that place where you're believable now, opposing whoever.
And the finishing what I started thing would fit great with Orton.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that segment. We need to bring that back maybe a little bit more often, but it's a good way to get a lot of our stuff in. So with that, we are going to keep moving it along here to our homework assignment for last week, which was my first foray, actually. And that's why this is going to hold such a special place in my heart, because it was my first exposure to the wonderful world of New Japan. We're taking you back to the year 2016 for Wrestle Kingdom 10, and I did not realize that this was for the Intercontinental Championship. I thought it was for the Heavyweight Championship, but it actually was not. Upon watching it again, I realized that the graphics said Intercontinental and not Heavyweight, so my bad on that one.
Shinsuke always treated the Intercontinental Championship like it was the Heavyweight Championship. It was always the most important to him.
Maybe that's where my misconception came from. But we have AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship at Wrestle Kingdom 10. I will cede the floor to you on this one to start off with.
It was the best Japanese match I had seen until Omega wrestled Okada. I drove my son and my wife 18 hours to New Orleans for WrestleMania so that I could watch that match live, and didn't get the match that I wanted. Was very disappointed, but still drove all that for just that match. I wanted to see that live. That's how much I loved this match. I didn't see it live when it happened, but the minute that I found out that it was a thing that had happened in the past, I immediately watched it. There's not a whole lot that I can say that hasn't been said about that match. It's very hard hitting. It's very strong style, of course. AJ's AJ, Shinsuke's Shinsuke. It's two of the best to ever do it. Doing it on one of the biggest stages in the world. One thing that I'll mention that maybe people don't notice is that if you go back and watch it, and I never really noticed this before today. When you go back and watch, when the match ends and the Young Lions come in to tend to AJ Styles, the Young Lions that are tending to AJ Styles are David Finlay, Juice Robinson, and Jay White.
No kidding.
Yep. A plus for me. I think it's amazing. It's, AJ's Bullet Club leader. And if you know what happened the day after,
Was that AJ's final match?
yep,
Okay, and he left and
he teamed with
signed
Kenny the
with.
night after at New Year's Dash because they always do New Year's Dash the day after Wrestle Kingdom. So New Year's Dash, he teamed with Kenny, and Kenny turned on him, and the Bucks turned on him, and they kicked AJ out of Bullet Club. And then 19 days after that, he was in the Royal Rumble.
That's right, because it was a January match, and end of January was the Royal Rumble. This being my first foray into New Japan, you can imagine my shock
Yeah, oh yeah.
at what I was watching, consuming so much of the WWE product as I have and continue to do. I've just never seen wrestling like this. Every move had a purpose. They weren't holding anything back. Each guy wanted the best that the other guy had to offer, and they weren't going to settle for anything less. It was the onset, the inception, if you will, of my epiphany that I had several weeks ago when you gave me the credentials to be able to watch Okada Omega 2 out of 3. That this match is always going to hold a special place in my heart because it was my first exposure to it, and it was what it made me see the possibilities of just pure, crystallized, focused wrestling as a sport, as a way to draw emotions out of people. And, I said Okada and Omega could have gone for 3 hours if you let them. So could have these guys. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that you could have doubled the match length and it would still have been just as compelling.
Yep.
There's no way I can give this thing anything other than an A plus either. It's just, New Japan is as popular as it is for a reason. I have yet to see a clunker. I'm becoming aware of the fact that clunkers just don't happen that often over there.
And when they do, it's 8-person tag matches with the bottom of the card people.
Right.
And even then, it's still entertaining.
Because the people, I get the sense that those that are employed by New Japan care very deeply. Not to say that other promotions don't. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a history there.
Right.
And there's a cachet there that you don't. I got to be on top of my game. If it's Wrestle Kingdom season, if it's Dominion season, if it's G1 season, I got to be on my A game because I know I got a ton of eyes on me.
Yep.
So A pluses for both of us, and I know that if Patrick were here, he'd be chiming in with an A plus as well.
Right.
Because it's nearing the end of the summer semester of Wrestling with Egos, I'm happy to announce that there is no homework this week.
Yay!
We need to just kind of get in the right frame of mind for our Montreal Screwjob show that is upcoming, where we take a deep dive into the events surrounding that night, Survivor Series 97, all that came before, what happened that night, and then the fallout from it. So we're going to segue into our final segment of the evening. He gave us some bar talk before he left for his trip. And I'm curious to see where we go with this because I had a hard time with this one.
I did too.
I had to actually research, look up a list of, finishers because the bar talk this week, and sir, I will have a refill if you get a moment because we have another segment to get into here. Is the worst finishers ever. There's been a lot of wrestlers to come through our promotions and a lot of great finishers and a lot of okay finishers. And then there were just some finishers that make you go, excuse me. And Patrick laid the ground rules that neither one of us could talk about the Judas effect. I think we all realize that, hey, the Judas effect is pretty rough. We'd prefer, a Lion Salt or Walls of Jericho or, Code Breaker. But now we have the Judas effect. So, good sir, I will let you kick it off with your first submission for worst finishers and why.
I'm going to start it off with a mind-boggling finisher that you would never expect Me or maybe anybody else to put on the list of worst finishers of all time. I am going to, believe it or not, talk about a man we just spoke about in the homework. I think the Styles Clash is only dangerous if you do it wrong. The Styles Clash is one of the worst finishers of all time. The only way that it's dangerous is if you tuck your chin, if the guy taking it tucks his chin and lands on the top of his head. Other than that, it's he's landed on his knees mostly, and I don't think that it's a good finisher at all. I think it's creative as hell, and it's really fun to look at, and it's awesome to watch, but I don't think that it does much damage.
The one he gave to Ricochet a couple weeks ago.
The top rope
the second, yeah, that was like
that works for me. If you always do it off the rope, that works for me.
Right.
But you're not falling far enough for the damage to any important part of the body that would win you a match.
So it's basically your gut that's taking it. So it's more to knock the wind out of you more than anything.
In your knees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't love it.
My first one, I didn't think you were going to say that, to be honest with you. That's surprising. But the more I think about it, the more I see the error of my ways. The first one I'm going to give you is one of the Big Show's finishing moves. And it's one that you have all probably forgotten about, but he used it for a brief period of time, and I remember thinking, that is so stupid. The Final Cut.
All he did, I do remember using that move.
He had you in a side headlock or something like that, and he just swept his arm over and drove you into the mat with it.
Yeah.
He used it one fall or something like that. I forget who he was in a program with, but it was the Final Cut.
I totally forgot about that.
It was when he first started wearing the skull cap to the ring, when he had finally just shaved all of his hair off and stuff like that.
Goldust did that move.
Who did?
Goldust. That's the Final Cut. It's a movie thing.
Okay.
Goldust move originally. But okay. I do remember Big Show taking it and using it as a finisher. That I do remember that. I had completely forgotten about that. Yeah, that move was horrible.
Like, how is that? I mean, now, if the Big Show does any move to me, he'll probably get a 3 count out of it. I mean, he could blow on me. He could go 3 count, tap, 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 tap. But that kind of thing.
I wanted to put the Big Show's punch on my list, but I just, in good conscience, because it's just a punch. But I couldn't, in good conscience, put in a 500-pound man punching you in the face as one of the worst finishers ever. I mean, it's an 8.
There's been a couple of those that he's landed so snugly,
right?
Though that okay, he's been rocked to sleep for a little bit.
Absolutely.
Your next submission.
You mentioned when I mentioned Styles Clash, you said something about knocking the wind out of you and the gut taking most of the impact. The big ending is really horrible. Big E's finisher. It's basically him taking a flat back bump and using his arm to cushion your fall. He puts you on his shoulder and then takes a flat back bump and uses his arm to cushion your fall. Like, that's what happened. The only part that takes any impact, really, is the person's gut, and the impact is from Big E's arm cushioning the fall. It's not a good finisher. It's, again, like the Styles Clash. It's cool to look at. It's not anything anybody else does, so that's cool. But there's not a whole lot of impact there, I don't think.
Okay. My next one is a little bit, just because I've really never been a fan of this guy as a wrestler. So you might laugh at the submission, but good Lord, the Bo Dog by Bo Dallas. I mean, I just never gotten with him as a character. I know, I get it. I understand. And for a while, everybody you just got a Bo leave, Brian, and you'd like the finisher better. And I'm like, yeah, no, thanks. I got plenty of other finishers that I can get with, but that one it's okay. It's a bulldog headlock. Great. Just got a Bo leave.
Got a Bo leave.
I can't.
Yeah, that move is trash. Bo Dallas is also He's actually as a wrestler, he's super good. Like he's not super charismatic. It's hard for him to
But
get
that's
over.
true.
Yeah, horrible move. I agree.
Your next one? Oh, okay. Here we go.
So she hugs her opponent and
Oh,
just like lays her down on the mat. And the Bailey to Brian, the Bailey to belly is awful.
I know. I get it. I don't care.
Okay, as long as you know.
It's probably the most effective when it comes out of nowhere, because when she beat Sasha for the NXT title, that one she just snapped off something fierce out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Sasha walked right into it, and it was
I was like the
swift
snap.
and sudden. Yeah.
I agree that, and then when she does the top rope super Bailey to belly, that works too. But it's I don't as just a standing in the ring, setting them up, giving them a hug, and then laying them down finisher. I think it's horrible. And I had reservations about saying it because I know how much you love Bailey, but it's not a good.
I do. Finish. It's okay. I understand, and I'm sure, and newsflash, Wrestling with Egos peeps, I can predict the future because I know that there's something else coming on his list that's going to make me equally as equally as fuming as the Bailey to belly did. But that's okay. That I get that. I'm used to it by now. I get that people want to make fun of me for my taste in wrestling.
That's not it at all. It's just not a good finisher. It has nothing to do with making fun of you.
My next one is only because it could be a lot more devastating if they just went all in with it. Randy Orton's punt. And I get why. I get why, but that was my favorite iteration of his character when he was doing all of that stuff with the IED or whatever condition he allegedly had. And he was punting the McMahons, and
Yep.
you were made to believe that this guy was just, a couple 10 short of a full deck.
He was my favorite wrestler. He was that guy.
Yes. And then they went away from it. He would tease it and then not do it, or he would do it and they would move out of the way. To me, if done properly, that could be more devastating than an RKO.
I agree.
As sick as the RKO is, and as many different applications as he's done it in, that's just purely selfish on my part. Like, I wish they would have committed to it more to make it look a different way so that you weren't just kicking somebody right in the face, basically, or on the ear, making and giving them the gong noise. But that would be another one that I would submit to you because they just didn't go all in with it.
I agree. Absolutely. That's a good one. I guess I'll just get it out of the way now. The rock bottom sucks. It's a horrible move. He throws him on the ground with his arm. And I could throw in the people's elbow too, but I love that move. That move is super over with me. I'm not talking about the rock bottom is awful.
My favorite rock bottom ever is going to surprise you.
What is it?
In early 99, when his face turn was happening, he was in a program with Bulldog.
Oh my goodness.
And they had the kennel in the back. And the big, I forget what you call the material, but it was a cutting board.
Yeah.
With the number 2 all over it.
I remember that.
And he slid it in the ring and rock bottom on the dog poop. I mean, that was just like, no, he didn't. But again, it depends on if it's a rock bottom through a table. That looks really, really awesome.
It does. It does.
The one he gave to Shane when he was wrestling Booker T for the WCW Championship at SummerSlam.
Legs up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was the one on the outside. I mean, that looked like it freaking hurt because the shoulders took everything. There
are moments and times where it is super devastating, but as just like with Bailey, it's the same kind of deal where he's barely lifting them off the ground and kind of just like putting them down, and I just don't like it. I've never been a fan.
So sometimes I'll pretend like I'm going to rock bottom like my buddies and stuff like that, but I'll do what Rock usually does. I'll just have my arm up here and I'll just spin them around like and pretend like I'm talking to the crowd like you want, yeah, I'm gonna, and then but then I stop and they just don't. So I can see where you're coming from on that. Yeah. My next one, Zack Ryder's Rough Rider.
Really?
Never liked that one either. I mean, you're basically just kicking them in the corner. Or is it a knee? I forget what it is, but it's just never really been a fan of that.
That's different. That's oh my gosh. That's not the Rough Rider. The Rough Rider is the over the head thing. Or
the broski boot. The broski boot is where he.
Yeah, bro, that's what it's called.
No, but the Rough Rider though, I didn't like that one either.
I'm a fan of the Rough.
They never gave Zach the run you deserved either. I mean, he was white hot for like a month.
I mean, you know what's up? When you're in WWE and you get yourself over, you get punished.
Whatever. That's
what happened.
More submissions?
I got one more. People are gonna hate it.
I have one more as well.
So I'm laying on the mat. You climb to the top rope, okay, and then you do a front flip, but the only part of your body that lands on me is your head. The Swanton Bomb sucks. The only way the Swanton Bomb is a good move is if it's done incorrectly and your entire body lands on me. Otherwise,
because that messes you up more than it messes. Absolutely. That messes me up more than it messes you up.
The flat back bump from the top rope, with the only part of your body that is touching my body is your head, and it's touching my stomach, which is cushioned. Like it's not good.
But it's also going to do this to my neck.
Right, absolutely.
Because of the impact.
Right. And even as a 13, 14, 15-year-old, I was like, what is this? It's stupid. Like now, again, when Jeff does the Swanton Bomb 30 feet up on a scaffold through a table, that's completely different. But from the top into the ring, it's ridiculous.
I can't think of anybody else who's taken more borderline unnecessary risks in his career.
I mean, him and Shane.
Jeff. And I mean,
Shane and Jeff did it a million times more times than Shane did.
Yeah. I mean, I'm bless his heart that he's still upright and coherent and all that stuff, but oh man. My last one, this should not have been his finishing move. It should have been something else. And you might even say, well, you're an idiot because that didn't hurt either. Sheamus's brogue kick. I think his finisher should have been White Noise. Because really? White Noise to me looks like it hurts a little bit more. Because you can take a brogue kick a certain way. I mean, again, White Noise, he's got you behind him, and he's dropping your head.
Right.
Dropping your head into the mat.
Right.
I would think that would be a little bit more ruinous than the brogue kick, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, no, you're making a point.
Absolutely. So I just always thought it should have been the brogue kick could have set up White Noise or something like that, or maybe you just dispense with the brogue kick at all. And going back to that suddenness aspect, because White Noise, if you snap it off, that could be a little bit different.
I'm actually a fan of both those moves. Did Sheamus retire?
I don't know how much he can be. Now, I haven't heard anything official about this, so I'm the last person to ask if it's official. But I know the bar wasn't doing a whole lot Like they'd make appearances every once in a while, but it was Cesaro that was doing all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, and now he's got new music, and he's
And
gonna
he's the
wrestle.
one. He's the one that knocked on Alistair's door,
Yeah.
which I can't wait to see that because those two could do some stuff. But I wonder if Sheamus is just at that point where maybe he can't physically go, which is surprising because I see his workout videos all the time. But maybe he's not cleared for Impact. Maybe he's not, all he can do is lift and that sort of thing and keep in shape. So I haven't heard anything official, but I wonder if we might be hearing that he's hanging it up or going to a backstage role or something like that. But
a backstage role would be cool. But I don't know. I enjoy watching him wrestle. I think he's good.
Yeah, me too. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I think we're going to put a bow on it, for lack of a better phraseology, if you will. We want to thank you, as always, for consuming us however you consume us, whether it is on Anchor.fm, whether it's on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you click the bell to get notifications about when we push out new content. You can always reach us out on the Twitters, which are at RJEman with 2 N's for Mr. AEW over there. Patrick can be found at Rant Mode On. Always worth a follow for him. And I can be reached at bkrego15. You can email the show, wrestlingwithegos@gmail.com. And our past episodes are in the repository on our Google site, bit.ly/withegos. We sincerely want to thank you for... Where did my paper go? Uh-oh. Where'd my paper go? Oh, no.
For your paper, I will remind everybody, big wrestling weekend coming up. G1 Day 2, Saturday morning. Evolve is also Saturday night, but we don't care about that because we have All Elite Wrestling. Pre-show starts at 7:30. Fight for the Fallen pre-show starts at 7:30 on YouTube. The Fight for the Fallen main card starts at 8:15. Free on Bleacher Report Live. Again, just like Fighter Fest, if you haven't created an account before the show, make sure you do it. It'll make logging on much easier.
And then we also do have Extreme Rules this Sunday also. Some potentially important things might come out of that.
It'll be fun.
Actually, the card does look pretty interesting. It'll be worth a watch. Probably for me later on in the evening because my nephew has a birthday this weekend, so we're going to be celebrating him with a Minecraft cake of all things. Like, really?
I've done that before. We had a Minecraft party for my son a couple years ago.
Can you send us the cake so we don't have to make one? Because Heather's on the hook for the Lovebird's on the hook for making the cake. But
I took some cardboard boxes and tissue paper, and I cut the green tissue paper into little squares and turned the boxes into a big creeper.
Nice.
It was so cool.
I'll have to have her get in touch with you then for some ideas. But as always, we thank you for consuming us however you consume us. Until we meet again next week, it's our Montreal Screwjob Spectacular, where we will dive into all things Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and Mr. McMahon and all the rest. We thank you for listening. And until we meet again, that's our story, and we're sticking to it. Peace.